Okay, so in the Puss in Boots video, I talked about perfection in art and how that isn't how once you reach a certain complexity, that is a product of doing a thing other people have already done and repeating that, and in a formulaic way. And I wanted to expand upon that a little bit and just make sure that you understood that I'm not saying that as a negative, because that is a way that great art is made, which sounds counterintuitive. But the thing about good art is that it's very rarely doing everything. It often has as a fairly limited point, these pieces it was to focus on. And then you kind of have to make the rest of the art piece to make it cohesive and to fit with the norms or whatever. If you want to make a movie that's a case study of this character, you kind of have to do a lot of other things to make the movie. And so you kind of just have to fill in those blanks. And a good way to do that is to do things that work, but doesn't really conflict with with the thing you really want to do, the thing that makes your piece of art unique. And so a good way to do that is to follow these familiar patterns we have. And in that way, it doesn't distract from the thing you want to do and the thing you want your audience to focus on. And so it's kind of important for me to know that when I say that this is formulaic, that's an observation, and that's true about kind of all the things I say. I do try to. I'm not objective because nobody's objective when talking about art, but I am trying to kind of just mean the things I say, and not put too much value on the thing. If I say that the thing is like this, the thing I mean is that the thing is that this is like this. If I think the thing is bad, I do try to say that, and that is bad because nothing, very few things. And now we are talking about ways of making art. A lot of things are bad and a lot of things are good. But, when it comes to the way you construct your art, things aren't really bad or good or wrong or right. They are the way they are, and they have positives and negatives, and you kind of have to judge them for how they are working in this scenario, not whether or not the thing is bad or good on its own. I want to jump back to a conversation I had with a friend around the time The Last of Us Part 2 came out. And in the middle of that game, there's skip in time. It's you jump back in time and you change the perspective. I'm not spoilers for The Last of Us 2. I don't really care how much I spoil. It's a piece of art you should play through. And I do mean that. It's flawed. It's very flawed. I will talk about one of the ways it is now, but it's worth exploring if you have any interest in games whatsoever. I say games as a storytelling medium whatsoever. Yeah, but back to the point. There's a big skip in the art, and that's a huge break with what's commonly referred to as the Hollywood model. That's a way to structure a story where we have a hook at the start of the story that with lots of excitement to hook the reader or watcher or player or whatever in, and then you have a part where you explain thing and you wrap up the excitement, and you have that escalates to a top, and then you quickly have the excitement come down and you wrap things up. And so when The Last of Us does this, it ramps up to have a huge top in excitement, and then it goes all the way down and starts building up again. So that's a break with the Hollywood model, and my friend commented on this and said that okay, that's bad because it's a break with the Hollywood model, and then I had to be annoying and explain that okay, because the scene is bad, the scene doesn't work, but it doesn't not work because it's a break with the Hollywood model. Plenty of good art break with that. The reason it doesn't work is because it doesn't work. Because you want to, and that's interesting. And I'm rambling now, and this is a rant, so we are completely off topic, but that's fine. The reason it doesn't work is very much because Last of Us Part 2 is a game, and you, to some degree, you control the pace by how you play. You can rush through the levels, or you can take your time. And Last of Us Part 2 is a game that wants you to take your times in the gameplay sections, wants you to creep around and explore. So when you have all this excitement, and then you have a break, you skip to something else with a lot less excitement, the player wants to go back to that excitement. So what do? They rush through the levels, and you can see this if you look up Let's Plays of Last of Us Part 2, how the streamers will react negatively, and that later reaction isn't a bad thing. Good art should want you to feel negative emotions too. Okay, but how do the player react to that? Yes, they start rushing through the story and they don't really pay attention because they want to go back to that moment, and that's not wrong. That could be good, but the game doesn't want you to have that reaction. Kind of, they want you to be able to pretty much immediately transition and be like, okay, now I am going to follow this story. And also the game is a lot, so by the time you come back to that point in the game, you are kind of, at least I was pretty numb on it. I should probably do another rant talking about The Last of Us Part 2 because it's a very interesting game. It's I won't go so far to say it's because and that's another thing, because it is in many ways very good and it is in many ways very bad, and I got a lot of things to say about it, possibly some other time. And I'm completely off track now. And I do think I pretty much already finished the point I really wanted to make about perfection, how good art often follows these very conventional things in the things that doesn't make it unique. So yeah, watch Puss in Boots' Last Wish, play The Last of Us Part 2, and that's it for now.